Let's get started. Let me have your attention. Let's get started. First of all, I want to welcome everyone back from the summer, and I won't say vacation because I know many of you were here working very hard or at the lab 30 miles away working very hard, but welcome back. I'm glad you're here, and so is the rest of our faculty and staff. I hope you had a safe summer and you didn't get stung by too many yellow jackets, or that's what usually happens to me in the summertime. Knock on wood, that hasn't happened yet, thank goodness. Come here. This is our first colloquium of the academic year, and but this is our first unofficial colloquium. The official first colloquium will always be Dr. Alan Weinberg, who's next week. So I'm here today to welcome you back and to give you an overview of what has been scheduled thus far as our colloquium program for the academic year. And I have just about all of the open dates that we can use scheduled for the fall. There's a few that are open. Most of them are already taken and scheduled. Okay, and then let's get started. Here we go. First of all, I thought it'd be a good idea to review why we have a colloquium program. I mean, we come in here, it takes time out of our work, out of our classes, out of spending time with our friends and family, and so it should be worthwhile for us if we're going to do this. And so what we want to do, they're listed here. There may be some that I've left out. We want to learn from speakers that are outside of our department, okay, which is really usually from outside the university. Get good information from the outside. Be exposed to new ideas and concepts. And we've had a lot of that in these presentations from people on the outside. We've heard about new reactor designs, like last year, the Advanced Can-Do Reactor 700, which is slightly enriched, right, as opposed to being natural enrichment. Stay abreast and informed about current events and new opportunities. That's important. There are things going on every week in the nuclear arena, having to do with Yucca Mountain, having what's going on in Congress, and so on and so forth, and we need to keep abreast of these things, and we occasionally get speakers that come and talk about current events. Really, what I wanted, my main reason is having been a graduate student, I know how you can get focused on your research and your classes, and nothing else matters, right? Almost. Well, we need to have an opportunity to think outside the box occasionally, and even think outside of the nuclear box. Because at least once a year, we'll have a colloquium that doesn't have anything to do with nuclear. Like last year, we had a classical guitar recital by one of our graduate students. Okay. We also had a faculty member, Dr. Miller, who went to Germany 3 times in search of family roots. His family's from Germany. He took all these wonderful slides, and he came back and he shared that cultural event with us. And then that's what we're looking for in this once or twice a year, where we don't talk about technical things. Whoops. I must be, let me put this down. And we want to exercise our intellect. There are things going on in the world, not only in the nuclear business, but just in the world in general, that we need to talk about. What about the war in Iraq? And, of course, when we have our little get-together, our little social reception party, whatever you want to call it, after each one of these presentations, we talk about everything under the sun, and including both technical topics and non-technical topics. That's exercising your intellect. Now, that next bullet, I pulled it out and put that one in. That's important from an administrative point of view. It's important to me as a department head is that we want to promote good relations with external organizations. So when we invite the president and CEO of Framatome to come in and talk about their nuclear vending business, we're making good contacts there. And one of these days, he might call on us to do a research project for him, which then affects you as graduate students that's what pays your salary, right? When you work on a grant or contract that one of our faculty members brings in. So it's really important to have good contacts with the outside, and this Colloquium program permits us to do that and to open many new doors that otherwise we probably wouldn't open because we're so focused on whatever like I used to chase neutrons. You know, and I can remember Tom Curlin when he was department head. He would come down there and fuss at me for not coming till we called it the seminar program there. You know, I just wanted to be bothered. I wanted to chase my neutrons. Well, he was right. And thank goodness he convinced me to start going to the seminars. And from my perspective, they are really valuable. And then, of course, we want to interact socially. Everybody, students, faculty, and guests, we go downstairs and have refreshments, and that's important. We communicate. Come in. Okay, now those were the objectives of our Colloquium program. And today, what I want to do is overview what I have scheduled thus far, and then I've got 2 or 3 other, or 5 or 6 other potential speakers that I have not yet confirmed, or most of them I haven't even invited. I'm going to bring those to your attention, and then I want your ideas for Colloquium speakers, topics and speakers. You may not know a speaker, but if you suggest an interesting topic, I'll bet you that one of our faculty members, we can find a good speaker. Okay, so if you don't have to necessarily come up with a speaker. It's just a topic that we really want, and so we'll do that at the end. And don't let me forget to to do that, because I will forget. And then we're going to have our reception. Okay, and everyone's invited. Okay. Here's what I've set up so far. Today is that's me, August 20th. Today's the 27th, right? That's a mistake I just now figured out. It's all your fault. I blame everything that goes wrong on Dr. Miller. September the 3rd is a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, today's 27th.
Yeah, but September, I got the next date right. Okay. All right, well, this is the first really official speaker of the year. We have had Dr. Alvin Weinberg. For those of you who don't know who he is a member of the Manhattan Project back during World War II. He's 87 or 88 years old. His health is really deteriorating. In fact, it's not for sure that he'll be able to join us next week. I just talked to him last week, and he's going to give it his best shot. We have to go pick him up, and this time, of course, we always provide him a chair. But this time, he said, "Lee, I got to have a chair." And I said, "Okay." And then we take him home. And like I said, he's had some rather severe health problems lately. But nevertheless, I told him that we want him to come as long as he can do it. And his topic this year, he's done this now 4 or 5 times. Last year he talked about Enrico Fermi, because Weinberg worked for Fermi. You know, that's 1-to-1. Fermi was his mentor. Walter Zenn. You know who Walter Zenn is? This was the #1 assistant for Fermi. That's it. Wigner was the mentor for Weinberg, okay, and Fermi was the mentor for Walter Zenn, okay, and Walter Zenn was his #1 assistant and was the first director of the Argonne National Laboratory, which is right outside of Chicago. And then William Summers. Turns out Savannah Riverside, which is where I used to work, which is where Dr. Peavy used to work, they have a rather significant hydrogen energy program. And I think it's in conjunction with the University of South Carolina in Columbia. And so this is one of their project leaders. He's going to come and give us a presentation on their hydrogen energy programs. All right, then on September the 17th, we have Dr. Susan Navarro, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of NRE. NRE stands for nuclear research and engineering. Okay? Her husband's also a PhD in nuclear engineering, Mark Valente, and but she's the boss. Okay? This is a startup company that's really prospered. I think they have over 100 people now, primarily consulting in the fields of criticality safety, but they've expanded out. And the main reason I'm inviting her is, other than the fact she's good, she's really good, is that she's a female. We don't do enough in the way of having and giving credibility to female engineers, and this one is done really well. And so I wanted her to come. Maybe she's a role model for some of our undergraduate female students. We don't have very many. We wish we had a lot more. Maybe if she comes, maybe we'll have more female students. And then Mike Kuliasha. Mike used to be the division director for computational physics and engineering division at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. He gave that position up. He's now the director of Homeland Security for ORNL. And he's going to come and tell us about the ORNL Homeland Security Program. Mike is also a member of our departmental advisory committee. Okay, we have a 5-man committee, and they come once a year. In fact, I just got the report today for the meeting that was in May. And Mike is a real good contributor on that committee. He's a very creative thinker. He's got lots of good ideas. Then on October the 1st, we have Stan Milora. Some of you may have heard him a year ago over in mechanical engineering. Did anybody hear that presentation? Because he is the director of the Fusion Energy Division of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. He's going to come and tell us about the current status and future prospects for fusion power. Now, these titles, by the way, they're not exact. I'll get the exact title from the speaker a week or so before he shows up. Okay, this is what the speaker and I discussed, either on telephone or email, and this is what I recall. So it's not the exact title, but it's close. One thing we want to ask Stan is that are they predicting that we're going to have break-even fusion, economical break-even fusion in 30 to 50 more years? They've been saying that for the past 50 years. And if they say it every year, sometimes you hear 30, sometimes you hear 50, but we've been hearing it for 40 to 50 years. And I wonder if he's going to say anything different. The fusion people do a really good job in getting money from DOE. There's more money funding research projects in fusion than fission at DOE. Okay? And then on October the 8th, we have another group leader, project leader, group leader, Michael Sale, or Sally, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Do you know how you pronounce it? But he heads up their research program on water and energy security. How important is this? Remember the blackout a few weeks ago in New England? I mean, that's not good. This guy addresses things like that, and water is just important as energy to sustain life. And then on October the 15th, we have Dave Hill. Dave Hill, he's a division director of it's not new, I guess it's a year and a half old now. It's called Nuclear Science and Technology. What the lab did, ORNL, they took all of their nuclear groups, and they were scattered in many different divisions: computational physics and engineering, I&C, instrumentation controls, Chemtech, and engineering technology is the one I was trying to think of. And they pulled all those groups, all those nuclear-related groups together into one division and called it Nuclear Science and Technology. And lo and behold, it's the largest division in the laboratory. Okay? And they did a national search for the new division director, and Dave Hill, my friend of over 20 years from Argonne National Laboratory, was selected as the new division director. And I've been trying to get him to come here and present a colloquium for almost 2 years, and I finally tied him down to October 1st. Date, October 15th. Now, October 21st is open. Does that mean that you can't have a colloquium? No. You most certainly. Let me tell you why it's open. This is selfish. I don't want to miss one. And I've got another commitment on that day. What is this thing doing? And in fact, that's the day that I'll be talking to the freshmen. All the department heads get to talk to the new engineering freshmen. And so I can't be here because it's in the afternoon. And so I just hadn't scheduled a colloquium. Okay, that's purely selfishness on my part. If you want to schedule a colloquium, go for it. Okay, just let me know, and I'll get into who the speaker is, and run it by me because I have to do the coordination, and I'll be glad to do that for you. So you can certainly have one, but I don't try not to go around shooting myself in the foot from the standpoint of missing a colloquium. On October the 29th, now this is embarrassing. I've told a couple of my colleagues this. I schedule these things and I write them down. I have my Franklin planner. If Miller's going to make a comment, I know it's coming. And as soon as I schedule one, I confirm one, I write it down. Well, I think, now I'm not sure about this, because he and I have this memory problem. We have this memory problem. I think I scheduled one, 29th, and my planner was not convenient at the time. I was on the phone. Maybe I was on the phone at home, and my planner was in my briefcase in the back seat of the car, and I just did not write it down. And
wait to see who shows up?
Yeah, wait. That's probably what we'll have to do. Now, what I've thought about doing is there's a guy that I can ask, and I'll explain to him the situation, and I think he'll go along with it, that if two show up, this other guy will understand my memory problem and help me. At least I hope he does. Okay, and then on November the 5th, now this one ought to be interesting. Robert Norris, here's a little history. He wrote a book. He wrote a biography of General Leslie Groves. You know who General Leslie Groves? Okay, he was the military guy that commanded the Manhattan Project. Okay, Fermi worked for him. All the scientists and engineers in the Manhattan Project worked for Groves. This guy, Robert Norris, wrote a biography. I read a review of the biography or something. I read something, and I said, hey, I want to hear more. I want to hear this presentation. He had given a presentation in Oak Ridge, I believe. Okay. And so I kind of found out I found out his phone number. I called him, and then he called me back, and we were talking, and then I realized, now, I don't know when I realized this, but he works for the National Resources Defense Council, NRDC, which is a strong anti-nuclear organization. Okay? And so that's okay. We not like we want to exercise our intellect, right? We want to get the other point of view. And so I had already asked him to come and talk about Leslie Groves. And I didn't ask him to come and espouse the philosophies of NRDC, and I called him back and I reminded him what he's supposed to talk about. So, and he basically agreed to stick to the subject. And on November the 12th, we have a new dean of engineering from in our college. He's really just here part-time. He comes on full-time in January. His name is Dr. Wei Kuo. He is a former associate dean at Texas A&M University. He is a member of the National Academy of Engineering. So we just increased the number of members at this university that's a member of the National Academy by 50%, or I guess 33%. We had 2, and now we have 3. Okay, and it's our new dean of engineering. And I've spent a lot of time with him in the last few months and meetings and whatnot, and I'm very impressed by him. I'm really excited that he's going to bring lots of new ideas and programs to the college. It's good to get somebody from the outside, in spite of what happened to in our recent 2 presidential appointments. So we're still trying to get somebody from the outside, and so he has made a request. He has made a request to visit all the departments, and he wants to spend an entire half day with each department, 3 hours minimum. That's what he said. And we get to set the agenda, and which we haven't done yet, but we had to pick the date. All right, and the only time that we can really get all our faculty together in one spot is this colloquium time. Okay, when we have faculty meetings, regular faculty meetings, there's always somebody absent because they got a class or they're on a trip or whatever. And so we can't have a colloquium on November the 12th because there'll be a meeting in here. We have to be here to meet with the new dean. And we'll be making presentations to the dean on that day. And the door will be shut. Now, you can come in if you want to. Then November the 19th, it's an open day. Again, this is a selfish thing on my part, and for most of the faculty, is that I'll be at the A&S meeting, National A&S meeting. And so if we have a colloquium that week, I'm going to miss it. And so I just didn't schedule one. And so you are more than welcome to schedule one and just see me, and I'll help you arrange it. November 26th is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. If we know from past experience, that's not a good day to have an afternoon colloquium if you want to have an audience. And so we don't schedule one then. And December the 3rd is study day. And that we try not to schedule anything for students on study day. You're supposed to study that day. Okay, so we just won't have one. And then the spring semester, I don't have anything scheduled. Okay? And so I got one spot for sure open here, well, not even for sure, on the fall semester, right there. October 29th, we don't know if there's somebody scheduled or not. So what are some potential speakers and topics? This was one that was suggested last year, and I called Sid, excuse me, but we just never turned up the date. And it turns out Oak Ridge National Laboratory is the leading national lab in the United States in gas-cooled reactor technology. Have been for years. And Sid is probably one of the leading authorities. And so a lot of people are talking about pebble bed reactors and prismatic reactors, gas-cooled reactors, and the Japanese actually have one, and so do the Chinese, that produces power, that operates. And so we can ask Sid Ball. And then Chet Ramsey. He's a graduate of this department. He is the chief medical physicist for the Thompson Cancer Center. Okay? Got his PhD in nuclear engineering. And there's been a lot of new recent advances in medical physics. Here. I'm going to put it down. And Chet, he's got new equipment that he didn't have. He gave a colloquium, a seminar a couple of years ago, and it was mostly on medical imaging. And now he's got new gadgets, new accelerators over there, and he's volunteered to come and tell us. He also teaches our medical physics course. And we have 2 medical physics courses, one in the fall, one in the spring, the graduate courses. And he is the instructor, has been. Adrian Oliver did it first, and then Chet. And now we're going to get Dr. Trent Nichols, who is a medical doctor, and also he's getting his PhD in physics. We're going to get him involved in teaching our medical physics courses. That's Ted's father, by the way. And then John Rupert. This is another topic that we suggested last year, but John, I could never get him tied down. He is on our advisory board. He was the chief nuclear engineer for TVA. He is now the manager of restart of Browns Ferry Unit 1. They got an 18-year-old reactor Browns Ferry Unit 1 has been shut down for 18 years. TVA made the decision to restart it. So this is the closest thing we have to a new reactor in the United States right now. It's the restart of Browns Ferry Unit 1. And it's over $1 billion just to restart that thing. But once they have it, there'll be 3 power reactors at Browns Ferry. Units 2 and 3 operate right now. And these are 11 to 1,300 megawatts. 13? 13. So they're big units. And then I've asked the new dean to come and speak, and you'll hear he hasn't selected a date though. I haven't been able to lock him into a date, but he has some new ideas for areas of research that he wants to pursue, and that's where he's going to place financial resources. That's planning, right? Strategic planning. And we need to hear what that is. And so he's going to come. And then, okay, now this is the one that's interesting. And I thought, well, if I can accidentally get a speaker from NRDC, National Resources Defense Council, and I don't say that that's a problem, then why not knowingly invite an anti-nuclear person to come and speak? You know, that doesn't mean we have to bring in rotten tomatoes and throw tomatoes at him or anything. I mean, we need to be respectful, and we can respectfully disagree. We can ask questions, that type of thing. But there needs to be a dialogue between the antis and the fors, and in not just nuclear, but in every arena. And now the reason I put 2 names up here is that I know this young woman. Dr. Miller and I have talked to her on more than one occasion. We go to Harold's for lunch occasionally. You know where Harold's is? It's on Gay Street. It's the best place in town to get a deli sandwich, in my opinion. And then 3 doors down on Gay Street is the East Tennessee Alliance for Clean Energy. And you go in there, and there's 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people in there working, and then they've got their, they're in the solar, doing all kinds of things. And the woman that we talked to on more than one occasion is Libby Smith. Now, the local anti-nuclear, TVA watchdog, whatever you want to call him, who happens to be a vet in Knoxville, that's his primary vocation. You've seen his name quoted in the newspaper. I've seen it maybe 50 times, 20 times. It's Stephen Smith. Now, how long did it take me to put together that Stephen Smith might be married to Libby Smith, okay? Well, I suspected that, and so last week when we went to Harold's, we were walking back to the car, and I just poked my head in there, secretary in the door, and I said, because she knows that she now recognized me, I said, is Libby married to Stephen? And she said, yes. And they didn't want to volunteer that information, she said, when we were in there talking to him, because I was being a little bit critical of Stephen. And I didn't know I was talking to his wife, okay? But she was very, she's as nice a person as you'll ever meet. She did not jump in and defend with all fours like you'd think some spouses would. She's had some very nice responses to my rather critical comments. And I didn't know that she was his wife, or I would not have said it. So what does that say? You learn, there's a lesson there. There's a lesson there. Number 1 lesson is probably never say anything negative about anybody. My mother used to tell me that if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Okay? So that's pretty good advice. Most of the time. And then, like I said, Dr. Miller went to Germany last year. Turns out that Dr. Upadhyaya and Dr. Hines both went to Brazil, a month ago? Something like that. And I went to Brazil last March. I had a wonderful time. Had a presentation, made new contacts, but they actually did real productive work. I'm sure much more productive than when I went. And so we can get Dr. Upadhyaya and Dr. Hines to come. And when they come and tell us about their Brazil trip, I like for it to be like 50-50. 50% technical, what they learned and people they talked to and the contacts they made and what's going on in Brazil. And then I want 50% culture. We want to see some slides of Sao Paulo, people walking down the street. I've got some slides of really interesting people walking down the street. And so it's a combination of cultural and technical. And that's so we can do that next semester. Those are my ideas. And that's what I've scheduled so far. And now I want your ideas and your see, I've left my planner again in the wrong place. My planner needs to be right here where I can. Let me just go get it. You get arrested for showing those pictures. Okay. What I want now is your ideas, and I'm going to write them down so I won't forget them. Hopefully you'll have some ideas.
Isn't there a new nanoscale engineering center?
Yes.
Lab?
Yes.
Maybe you can get some.
All right. Good idea. Did you hear what Bell said, Dr. Upadhyaya said? There's a new, big, highly funded center, new building and whatnot for nanoscience. It's a joint thing between UT and Oak Ridge Lab, and we can get somebody from there. Okay, Andrew?
I've got a comment on that and a similar thing. What would be good whenever we have people come in talk about new areas like that are opening up is to encourage them to talk both about the technical things and the applications, because you find that some people talk a lot about the applications, but you don't really understand how it works, and other people talk in detail about how things work, but you don't really see the connection to how you use it.
Sure.
For it to really be useful to you, you need to know both of those aspects.
Theory and applications, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I got one.
Okay.
Quantum computing.
Yeah, that's a good one. We can try to get Zachariah to do that, maybe.
I don't know who would be the person.
What else?
You said you have somebody discuss the pebble bed reactor technology.
Well, yeah.
I ran across a website, I think it's Idaho National Engineering Laboratory or whatever. They're working on something called Generation 4 reactor technology. They had I don't have the papers with me, but they had a number of new designs, including liquid metals fast-breed reactor using lead as equivalent.
Yeah. It turns out, that's a good suggestion. This is an undergraduate in one of our classes. And what you don't know is that we have a contract with DOE to look at Generation 4 reactors, and we got 3 or 4 experts right here in the room that in the department, namely Dr. Minot, Dr. Miller, Dr. Townsend. Who else worked on that contract? Martin has Generation 4 materials research too. So we're involved in that.
I cannot call myself an expert, but I am an enthusiast about it.
Good for you. Yeah, that's great. That's what we need. Andrew?
I mentioned a follow-up comment to that. I think that we had at one point somebody come in to talk about Generation 4, something related to it. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it wasn't really an overview of the whole Generation 4 thing. So what would be really great, I think, would be if somebody to talk about, okay, here are like 3 or 4 concepts that are part of Generation 4. This is how they work, and this is how they're significantly different from previous things.
These 2 guys can do that. That's what they do.
Okay.
But let me share something with you. In the latest RFPs from DOE, they do not refer to Generation 4. They have dropped that terminology.
In favor of?
Advanced reactor research. Because I'm not sure. I think it's probably political. I don't know, but so if we don't necessarily want to get an outside speaker to talk about Generation 4 stuff. Talk about advanced reactor stuff. What other suggestions, Martin?
About radiation harnesses.
Yeah, did we do that one time? No. Can you? What about that guy that we see at the A&S meetings all the time? The short, heavy-set guy with beard. Yeah, Muckerhide.
I think you probably get somebody better than him. I didn't say that.
You got to be careful what you say in this room, okay? Because it's going all over the world on the internet. And so you really, you got to be careful what you say. Yeah.
Last year, one of those pre-football game lectures that they have.
Yeah.
That guy that's the expert on Mars. What's his name? His name escapes me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Cap McSween.
Yeah. If we could get him.
Mars guy. Have you got your telescope set up at home?
Nice.
Right, we have a resident astronomer.
Yeah.
And he has many talents, one of which is astronomy. What are you gonna?
As good as Dick.
Is Dick Bailey?
Oh yeah.
Oh really? Last year when I gave this presentation, I gave Dr. Peavy a plug on his dramatic endeavors. Do you have any more dramatic endeavors underway that I can give you a plug? Last year I told the students that if they wanted to see one of their professors sing and dance, he's the man you need to go get tickets for. But you're right now you're waiting for your agent to call you. Is that right? I understand. Okay.
Fielding offers.
Yeah, fielding offers. Okay. Any other suggestions? Yeah, Wes?
We don't get a lot with politics. What about having someone like Lillian come down and tell us what's hot to do, what the big things are on the agenda, how that affects us?
Yes. In fact, didn't you suggest last year?
Yeah, I've got a buddy who is a political commentator.
He suggested getting a political commentator in here,
Mary Lou.
who is accustomed to speaking, right?
Right,
Oh,
that
yeah,
long.
he's on TV.
He's on TV. So, that's a similar type thing, except you were talking about what's happening in the funding picture. That's what Lillian knows about, is what's going on in Washington. She has a new boss, by the way. So, it'd be either her or her new boss. We can invite. Let me write that down.
About Zach Walton.
Well, yeah, I'd love to have him here.
We're done.
Jimmy Duncan.
We could do that. It's hard to get these guys. Jimmy Duncan may come, but probably not. Zach Wamp, very probably not. But we can certainly ask. You've got to have an audience like we used to have the WATEC meetings, and we have 1,000 people, and maybe you could get one of them to come to speak to 1,000 people. Of course, how many people do we have out here on the internet? We're about the only department in the whole university that does this on a regular basis. Okay. Any other suggestions? Got some good suggestions here, I think. What about cultural type things? That seminar last year where Wesley Williams did the 30 minutes of classical guitar, and then Dr. Miller did 30 minutes roots, German roots. That I really enjoyed that. So is there something like that we could do? We do that once, no more than twice a year. But here lately it's been about once a year. Well, let me say this. We do have email, right? You guys, you probably get too many emails from me, I dare say. One of my faculty members suggested to call me the email king, and so I've tried to cut down on sending such email to my faculty. But if you have suggestions, that you think of tonight, tomorrow, send me an email, okay? We'll try to arrange something. It takes a lot of time and effort to contact these people and to line them up and schedule it, and then tell them, I mean, just simple directions how to get here, where to park. We had a problem from the desk today, where to park. I mean, she wound up paying $5 to park. And then I tell them we're going to webcast it, and that immediately, what are you going to do? And they most of them don't understand what we're doing and how we do it. They're not familiar with equipment. I need to introduce them to the guru sitting over here in the corner that's in charge of direction and so on. We maintain that we're Gary and I'm the producer, and Gary's the director, and it's really just the two of us. And we're not in the same league with Walt Disney or Paramount or anybody like that. So we learn and we try to do a little better each week. And then occasionally we have catastrophic failures. Like we had David Diamond from Brookhaven National Lab last spring. He was our last speaker. I mean, your last speaker, I had to kind of save him because he was a big wheel, and he talked about Generation 4, as I recall. Isn't that right, Gary? I think he did. And lo and behold, we finally get him scheduled, and he comes, and we get all set, we run, and it lasts, 1 minute? Total failure. We do not have an archive. I mean, he gave his presentation to the people in the audience. All we had for the archive, you can look at this next week, next year, but all we had were his PowerPoint slides. Nothing was captured. Nothing was webcast. You got a webcast and then capture the file, and we failed. So that happens occasionally. Okay. Are you ready to go downstairs and have some refreshments? Let's do that. Thank you very much. It didn't take too long.
No, that's fine.